Hello everyone, I hope August treated you well. I'm Zath, and welcome back to my channel. While you're reading your own manga this month, do you have any titles that stood out? Starting a new series? Let me know in the comments below. This video will be all the manga I purchased and read for the month of August, and hopefully some of these can be added to your next poll if you haven't already read them. Now, without further ado, let's get to it. With all the negativity that's out there, it's always nice to read something that's just completely positive and wholesome. And for me, that's been BL Metamorphosis. This month I picked up the second volume of this series, and it continues to be so good. We see the continuation of the two main characters, share their fondness for the fandom, as well as Ichinoi not being afraid to fully embrace her new interests, showing the younger Yohara that, she shouldn't really be afraid of liking her own interests. So, and I think that's a really good message as well to the reader, that you should, not be afraid to like the things that you do. But man, yeah, if you haven't read this, you really should. I can't recommend this enough. It's a really great story. Next up is Black Clover Volume 22. This volume, guys, seriously, if you are not reading Black Clover and you are a shonen fan, you really should. This volume was amazing. It wrapped up the huge fight scene that's been going on for a little bit, and then immediately rolled in some serious story elements, which led into the next story of this arc. And there's no lulls. It just rolls from oh hey, we beat this guy, and then it rolls to the next story point. And that's one of the cool things about Black Clover. There's really no lulls. It just keeps rolling. And I absolutely love reading each volume. The story just keeps getting better and better. All the characters just get fleshed out more, and we get, more backstory interactions. It's just been really great to read. And with this volume, I finally caught up with the English releases. So it's taken me a little bit, but really glad that I'm finally caught up, so I will definitely look forward to the next volume when it's released. If you ever want to know how to get me on board a manga series, all you need to do is have a grizzled character who cares about his loved ones enough to vow revenge for the rest of his life, then enact revenge while shouting his love over the corpse of his enemies. But in this case, ReZero, Starting Life in Another World, Chapter 3, Truth of Zero, has it covered. This month, I have finished off the current releases of this series with Volume 6, Volume 7, Volume 8, Volume 9, and Volume 10. Chapter 3 has to be my favorite part of this series so far. It drug on a lot in the first half, but the story definitely picked up steam in the back half. And hands down, my favorite character is now Wilhelm. Nothing can change my mind right now. Not only is he the character that I described earlier, but he's such a cool badass. It doesn't need a ton of lines to steal the show. Overall, I've had a good time with ReZero. It's far from perfect, and I wouldn't even put it close to the best manga out there, but the story is definitely worth the time investment. After that, we have Dr. Stone Volume 11 and Volume 12. This series is in its new arc, wrapping up the Stone Wars in the last volume, already hitting the ground running with larger-than-life ambitions. Senku and the gang start out for searching for oil for their new ship, as well as harnessing the power of agriculture. One of the biggest strengths of this series is how they explain how Senku and everyone complete their inventions. And I think that's pretty neat. It's easy enough that they break it down so readers can follow along, and it's believable. And rather than finding anything from previous civilization, everything in Dr. Stone is created from scratch. So I thought that was one of the stronger strengths of this series. And I'm glad I've caught back up with this series, and I will look forward to Volume 13 when it's released. Next up is SP Baby Volume 1 and Volume 2. The series is done by the same mangaka, Maki Inoji, from An Incurable Case of Love. And even if I didn't recognize the name, I would have recognized the artwork, since a lot of these characters look exactly like the characters from that series. Not that that's a bad thing, it was just something that I noted while reading. The story is about a woman who becomes a bodyguard of a man whose uncle is prime minister. It's pretty lighthearted and a fun, short 2-volume series. I enjoyed reading it, but nothing that breaks the mold, so if that's something you're interested, you can read it, or pass. It wasn't great, but an entertaining read. Continuing on with my isekai binge is another long-winded title. My status as an assassin obviously exceeds the hero's. Volume 1 and Volume 2. With most isekai, the hero or heroes arrive in the new world and are greeted with cheer and fanfare, and being the chosen hero, everything's great and dandy. And however, with this series, it turns out the people that were summoned to this world are being used by the king to attack another kingdom. It's not a spoiler, it's literally in the first couple pages. I thought the plot was interesting enough, and there are a lot of similarities to like SAO and how the characters have stat sheets, but it breaks up enough of the mold to stand on its own. And, I enjoyed that. We see like level grinding and different abilities. The backstories for characters, and enough of the mystery, I guess, on the overall plot to, lay the plot foundation going forward. Also, at the end of each volume, there was a little side story, which was a nice inclusion, if you wanted some more lore in there, that was kind of nice. So I'll be picking up the next volume when it's released, because I really enjoyed the series. After that, we have Boruto Volume 9. The story of Boruto seems to be improving. It's making the volumes more entertaining, and keeping my attention the whole time. The continuation of, trickling some more, plot points in there from action scenes. It does balance. But speaking of fight scenes, I don't know if it was just me, but in the beginning of this, like, every panel is the same. And there's, here in the beginning, all the panels are just the same background. And I know it's like, oh, they're going so fast, but really, could we mix it up just a little bit maybe and throw some, real backgrounds in there? But I'm nitpicking a little bit. I really do enjoy Kawaki as a character and his growth overall. He's probably more interesting than Boruto at this time. He's got an interesting backstory, interesting, design in this world, and, like I said, his character growth has been really, pleasant to see in these few volumes that he's been in. So again, for an entertaining read based on the established Naruto universe with some of our old favorites, Boruto does its job. Next up, we have Love on the Other Side. This is a short story collection by Nagabe. The style is very unique and has its definitely own flair in the art, more pencil lines, I guess, which, the artwork is pretty nice overall. These stories, this volume is comprised of several one-shots based around the theme love. They were very different, focusing on a bit darker and more odd, though I suppose that the title will give you that. Overall, though, I think I do regret purchasing this volume. I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought. There were some nice stories in here, but some were really just a bit too strange for my taste. However, the artwork is really nice, so if you are someone who really values art more than anything, then this is probably definitely something that you should pick up. Next up, we have Demon Slayer, Volume 13 and Volume 15. I had to reorder Volume 13 because I have no idea what happened. Who knows where it went. But now I can at least fill the gaps in my collection. Volume 15 packed a lot of emotions. Kenya is such a good guy deep down, even though, he's got a tragic backstory, with his brother and just his life. But who doesn't really in this in this series? I really enjoyed seeing Ginyu's backstory, and Tien is there. It was really sad, but it was really good, and it made a lot of sense, for the characters overall. And I always like when a universe, it makes sense, because you're like, oh, this character had an interaction with someone that we saw way in the past, and that explains, something like that. The storytelling is really good. So we're now, we've wrapped up, the latest fight for the series, and we're kind of in, a training mode, looks like, but I really cannot wait to get the next volume when it's released. And that's going to wrap up my August haul. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, if you have any opinions on these series, or any additional recommendations for new series, let me know in the comments below. I'm Zath. Have a good day.